All right, here we go. Hi, my name is Kevin McNeil, and I'm here with William Parks, Emmanuel Dawes, and Rayshawn Cobbs, and we're just some guys talking. Today we're going to start in our very first segment talking about Christianity and what it means to us. You know, when people sit around and talk about being a Christian, they think about church. You know, there are a lot of things I think that go through the minds of individuals. And I think some days I want to say church has gotten a bad rap, but other days I look at it and I say, you know, the church kind of did it to itself with some of the things that we see going on in church. And so I had somebody ask me that question one day, you know, why should I be a Christian? Why should I go to church? What is, you know, why do you, and why do you do the things that you do? Why do you say the stuff that you say? You know, what meaning, what that do those things have for you? And so for me, personally, I'll say being a Christian is not about going to a particular building or about ascribing to a specific set of rules. You know, people think about the Ten Commandments and all that kind of stuff when they think about people and Christians and stuff. Right, the do's and the don'ts. But for me, it's more about relationship. It's about having a relationship with my God, my Lord and Savior, and living according to how He has led me to live my life. And it's nothing against anybody else, but for me, that's in a simplistic form. I think when you read the New Testament of the Bible, in Matthew, the question Jesus states, you know, there are only two things you really have to do. That's to love the Lord, thy God, with all thy heart, mind, body, and spirit, and then love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah, but the Bible also says in Hebrews, and I hear what you're saying about the building and everything like that, but it also says in the book of Hebrews, forsake you not assembling of brothers together in unity.
Yeah.
And so that throws a twist on why we should go.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think it comes with the deepening of your relationship. You'll feel more inclined to want to be around other people.
Right.
That are feeling the same way.
But kind of for me, I'm almost feeling different from being in church all my life and noticing what people do and don't do. It often makes me wonder why I should go with those folk, because they're setting a bad example for me to be in church. Right. Going back to what you say,
right?
Because if I'm to pattern myself after someone that's in the church, which is what we really try to do, whether it's we pattern ourselves after a deacon or a preacher or any other type of spiritual leader, whether it could be just an old mother or old father of the church, we find out that their life has been a hoax.
Mm-hmm.
In some instances,
yeah,
right.
In some instances, their life has been a hoax.
Yeah.
And being a hoax, what do I do? Because I'm looking to somebody to help me on this journey.
Right.
Well, see, sometimes that comes down to this is what I believe about, you know, the whole church thing. Because when I was out there in the world, I didn't want to go to church because of hypocrites. That was my whole thing about hypocrites, and church people in the church were hypocrites. So I didn't want to go to church because, you know, they're gonna act like that, and then I see them in the club with me, and they're talking all this stuff, or you see them in the streets or something, or you've been around them, they curse like sellers, and then they tell you not to do it and all that. So that bothered me. But the thing that came to mind for me was once I got into the body of Christ and walking it out with the Lord, I started realizing that, okay, sometimes we may look hypocritical from a moment. You see us there's a event or something happens that we may do something that's outside what Christ wants us to be, but you have to follow a Christian for their lifetime, because then you're able to recognize, okay, have they been walking with the Lord? Are they truly with the Lord? Because they start to change. They grow. We all grow. It's sometimes if you look back at yourself 5, 10, 15 years ago, and you look at yourself and say, as a new believer, were you the best representation of Christ at that time? And if somebody saw you and be like, William, okay, man, I saw what you did that time. That was messed up. But you talking about when you ask them when? Oh, that was 10 years ago you did it. I shouldn't keep myself from going to church or being around believers because of something that they did as a moment or event.
But what do you see?
Right.
What do you see when you see a pattern?
Right.
Oh yeah, that's
right. But that's the different piece is, and sometimes the pattern is not the same person. It's I see the same thing in different people.
Right.
And that's why I say for me, because I grew up in the church. When I came back to the church, coming back to the church was not. I didn't come to the church to be a Christian. I came back to the church because I was a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
I made the conscious decision. I need to get my life together. I need to get back right. I need to, I started reading my Bible again and realized that there was something that was missing in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look at people and now when I have conversations with people, it's not. Sometimes you only get the one shot.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I see you do something wrong, then I see him do something wrong, then I see him do something wrong.
Right, it's a pattern. Yeah.
Some people will say, well, all church people.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say that there's a pattern of seeing one person do things repetitively, but then also there's this whole thing of I see all the different people doing things, and so that's why for me it has to be about the relationship this way first,
right?
Because if I've got the relationship right this way first, then I'm able to balance when I see stuff.
Right.
And the people around me.
Well, I take that.
Yeah. My thing is I've learned how to. I'm more comfortable with people being real, even if they're in the church and they are doing their best to do the things that they should be doing, but still I see them doing something else. If they're not trying to hide the fact that they're doing something else, they're not trying to make it as if they're holier than thou. I can deal with that better than I can with somebody who gives me this impression. And then I know that what they're doing on the other side is outright, put it like this, the definition of hypocrite is pretender, basically. Comes from Greek, a Greek word that they use to describe the actors in their plays. So somebody who's a hypocrite is somebody who is willfully putting on an act. But there are people who are not willfully putting on an act who just mess up sometimes.
And we're all going to be.
Right,
we're all
right,
gonna mess up.
exactly.
We're all going to mess up.
Exactly.
But and I like what you're saying because we have to identify that I messed up.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And that in my walk, I'm going to mess up. But just because I slid today don't mean I'm going to keep on sliding.
Right.
I'm going to get back in line.
Right.
And I think I agree with you with part of let's keep it real.
Right.
Let's keep it real. Don't make me think that you the falling out faking Christian and you got the holy dance and the Holy Spirit all over you all day Sunday all through the week. But when I know that
it's opposite.
I don't say the opposite, but I know that you're struggling. To stay in line.
Right.
See,
struggling to stay in line.
And I look at that. The thing too is that this is what happened with me. What I understood when me coming back to the church, and the problem I had, and I had to recognize this with myself, is that a lot of times with us, that when you're not a believer or you went back and you backslid or whatever, and you coming back to the church, the first thing that we identify ourselves as those people that we deem as hypocrites, as opposed to the people that live right in front of you. My grandmother lived right in front of me, but I didn't recognize her as being a Christian. I recognized the ones that was hypocritical and recognized them being a Christian. What just saying, it's just blue. It's just like, okay, well, how you not pay attention to the people that do right, and you so focused on the people that don't do right? And I think that's part of our culture. We're more interested in the negative part than we are the positive part. If things are going on, people run like when we was kids. Or you in school, fight. everybody
Right,
breaks
let's
out.
put it
And nobody's gonna say, "Oh, well, he's helping.
And not
He's helping
running
his
to break it
teacher."
up.
Right.
Yeah, helping his teacher out. Nobody's jumping to see that. It's like, we look at it, fight. We excited about that, and I think that's the same thing. Our mentality, that we look at the negative and not looking to the positive more often. Because I'm guarantee you, a lot of us or people that's out there that's non-believers see a lot of believers that walk it out. I'm not saying they're perfect,
Right.
but they walk it out. They're consistent in walking this out.
But it makes
they
it
know.
easy. It makes it easier to resist when you can point out the bad points. Anyway.
Yep.
So your argument is that there's still a lot of good in the church.
Mm-hmm. Definitely is. Always have been.
How do you change the culture so that the good is seen and the bad is I won't say hidden, but the bad is not at the forefront?
Be transparent, like y'all been saying. The key thing is be transparent. That doesn't mean that we just go around with this. We got a license, but we really don't go with a license to just sit and do whatever that you're disconcerted. You're not concerned about what God wants in your life, and like you said, rebel again in doing it. But the fact is, you're like, look, today I'm gonna tell you honestly, I feel like going off right about now. I don't have patience for all of that right now. Don't talk to me. I don't want to talk to you. God bless you, but leave me alone. I don't really want to deal with you right now. And being honest, it's not that I don't like you. I don't hate you, nothing like that. It's just right now I'm not in that place.
Being honest about that. That's one of the things I didn't see growing up was people being honest.
But all of us are in a position where we can't say that.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, we are.
All of us in a position where we can't say that.
Yes, we can say that.
You can.
And there's a way you can say it.
When sister so and so comes to see the pastor, and she has her set of issues that she need to talk about, while you going through your set of issues, you simply can't say today is not the day.
Yes, I can.
I don't think you can say that.
I can.
You might do it.
I have done it. I have done it. I've had some people come back and want to talk, and I told them, you know what? Right now, I'm going to get Jimmy to talk with you because I just can't handle it right now. I'm going through some things that are very serious, and I'm not in the position where I can help you right now. I'm going to ask you to talk to Jimmy.
How was that received?
She went and talked to Jimmy. She started asking me what was going on with me. And I was like, you know what, sister, I just need you to pray for your pastor. I really need you to pray for your pastor. But Jimmy can help you out. And she went and talked to Jimmy.
And that's the key thing. I think that, there's a time where there's a point where you're being selfish that you have to recognize. But then there's other times where you just got something that that you're at a place that is best that you don't try to handle another situation or try to help somebody else because you can't give them the right perspective. You are just messed up right now.
Sometimes it's necessary to be selfish. Sometimes it's beneficial, I think, to be selfish. Because if you never have a point of selfishness, when do you get fed? If you never have a point of a time of selfishness, and you're always pouring out, when do you get poured into?
Right.
Now, I think you have to be strategic in how you do it. But I think that, we all, as individuals, have to have those moments when we have to shut the rest of the world out and say, Lord, feed me. And I think it's difficult to do what you did in most churches, because in most churches, what happens is we have people in a position, and from the context of the pew, the context of the people, we see people in leadership, pastors especially, as being, I want to say superhuman, but
It's set on a different level.
Right, on a different level.
You have a set of expectations. Most people have a set of expectations that they want their pastors and leadership to adhere to.
Right.
And sometimes those are just like anybody else's expectations. Sometimes they can be unattainable expectations that people have placed there. And I think it's important for the pastors and those in leadership to bring some of those things down and let you know, hey, I can do these things here, but sometimes you're asking me to do some things that I'm incapable of. And rather than me try to do them and fail at them, and then you point the finger at me for failing at them, I'd rather let you know then I'm not at the point where I can attain that yet.
Well, one thing too is you think about that's not only just the leadership of that aspect of home. I mean, being the man of the house, being the leader at home.
Yeah.
I mean, just
but I think
we
we should always be able to be honest enough to express the fact that I'm not there. And then for me, that gives people an opportunity that if they don't want to be there under that leadership, gives them an opportunity to say, well, you know what, maybe we need to go somewhere else, or maybe we need to ask you to go somewhere else. And I give them that opportunity. But I think it's our responsibility to never allow ourselves to be put somewhere where we can't operate.
Isn't it our responsibility to teach, so to let them know that we're all on the same plane?
Yeah.
Just because I'm preacher, pastor, whatever it is that I may be, that doesn't mean that I have different expectations of what God sees in me.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as man to man,
Mm-hmm.
woman to man, whatever the case may be, we're on the same plane.
Mm-hmm.
And just because I'm in that position of leadership doesn't mean that you have to look at me here. You should look at me on the same level because we got the same strokes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But that's
We
been
go
the
through the same
training.
problems.
That's been the training over the years for congregations, is that this is where your pastor is, and not to say that people shouldn't have a certain level of respect, because I've had some people kind of get mad at me because I've told them, you know, when you see me, don't be saying, hey, pastor, you've been knowing me as Blink for 30-some years. Call me Blink. And they're like, well, no, it's just the way I show respect by calling you pastor. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't want to be called that. If you my great aunt, you my grandma's sister, you the oldest living member in our family, don't come calling me pastor. Call me Blink like you've been calling me since I was hanging off your side.
Yeah, because I agree with that. Because I had a friend, we were at the VA, and she didn't know that I was preaching then. And then she says, well, what do I call you now? I said, what did you call me before you knew I was preaching? Well, I called you William. Well, I'm still William.
Right.
You know? I mean, I haven't got another name. I don't get another name until I die.
You just get a hook.
Then I get a new name.
You get a little hook.
But there have been people before us that have set that level
Right.
where they've even, I know people who even have told their mothers and fathers, now you have to call me bishop and apostle.
Lord.
So,
I couldn't
Say
dream
that
of
to
it.
my mom.
Ooh,
Me
I
too.
can't.
Yeah, right.
Man, I couldn't even dream of like saying that.
That's right.
But their parents do it.
No.
Their parents do
That's
it.
going to the extreme. I think in
And-
formal
and-
settings you might want to do. I wouldn't expect a family member to do, but formal settings maybe that's where you talk if you got people around you. But if you're talking one-on-one, you're just talking to each other, then you don't have to go there. But if you're in a formal setting where you're in a place, a conference or something like that, where it's a formal setting with people, other people that don't know you well, then you may say that amongst them. But really, if you're talking amongst each other, just that, So.
I called my mama from the pulpit this morning. I called her mama. And if she'd have said baby, it'd have been just fine.
That's right.
Mhm.
She didn't
Yeah.
say anything, but if she'd have said baby, it'd have been just fine.
I
Right.
don't think in that they should. I think they should keep to who they know you, how they know you. If
Right.
you their baby,
Right,
your
because,
baby, hey baby, you should have been doing something. That's how they should.
But
Well,
that changes. Title
but-
changes people's
But
expectations.
there's a shift, I think, because for a long time, especially in the African American community, the only place we had where we could hold a position or have a title was the church.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it was a big thing if you were chairman of the deacon board. It was a big thing to be a church trustee. I mean, it still is, but because that responsibility hasn't changed. That calling to those positions have not changed. But to be a preacher or a pastor of a church, none of those responsibilities, according to God's plan, has changed. But I think what we see now is that in a different dynamic, especially in our age group, you can sit on a United Way board. You can. There are a whole lot of other things in the secular community that I think younger generations now look at as where they place. They get their status, their standing from. And I come to church to get filled up. I come to church to have that moment with God. But I work on a finance committee. but that's just an additional duty. If you ask me, you know, who I am and what I do, if I allow myself to be defined by anything, it may be my job, my secular job. You know, I'm the director of finance for, you know, such a company ABC, or I'm the marketing manager for company XYZ.
Right.
However that.
But if people had to call you, if they were coming into your office and they had to address you as Mr. Director, sir, they would feel less relational to you.
Right.
When they would come in and talk to you. Mm-hmm. And so when people get to the point where they start always calling out your title first, I have my doctor. I'm at the point now where I can call her Renee. Right. Where it used to be Dr. Bernie. We've built a relationship over these 15, almost 20 years, where now when I go in I can say, hey Renee, and she says, hey Ray. She used to call me Mr. Cobbs when we first started off. But because we built a relationship, I respect her title.
Right.
She respects me. But we don't have to always bring that up, and we feel more comfortable.
But respect is not what you say. Always what you say.
Right.
It's how you treat a person.
Right.
Because I can say everything in the world respectful to you with the address out of my mouth and treat you in such a way that is very disrespectful.
Right.
So, you know, we have to respect is more, much more than just saying, Pastor, you know, Pastor Cobbs, how you doing?
Right.
Mm-hmm. I got to treat you like you my pastor.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know, I got to treat you like you whatever the marketing director or whatever it is that we know the title that you want to put on yourself. I have to treat you like that with that type of respect in order for you to really be respected.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can call you anything you want me to call
you. But you know, you feel as the relationship between you and that person grows, whether it be at work, at school, wherever it is, you get to a place where you feel more comfortable just calling each other. Right. And so that's the way I feel.
And it's still respectful.
Right, and it's still respectful. It's still respectful.
And then sometimes it takes the person who is in the power position to set that standard.
Exactly.
I was watching the thing last night about Charles Barkley, and he was talking about when he first got to the 76ers, you know, Dr. J was still there. And he said he stayed up all night his first night before practice, his first practice with the 76ers, and he said he couldn't sleep. And he said, I was nervous. And, you know, what were you nervous about? Well, I was nervous. What was I supposed to call Dr. J? He said, I didn't know him, so it wasn't like I could call him Julius. Did I call him Mr. Irvin? You know, was it cool for me to call him Dr. J? You know, and he wrestled with that. And he said, but Dr. J put him at ease. He said he got in the locker room and he was changing clothes. And he looked up, here was Julius Irvin walking over to him and said, hey, how you doing? I'm Doc. Glad to have you. And he said at that moment, he was like, it was just like, woof, okay, well, that's over. And so I think, you know, it is possible for the person who is in the perceived power position, you know, to change that dynamic. And I think the both people don't have to be receptive to that. Once again, I think we're all in stages where, you know, the title and position, you know, ain't that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. We didn't commit to a title; we committed to work. Mm-hmm. And there's a difference. I committed to do the work, so I